Hello and welcome to ARC 360's Looking Ahead digital event series. Before starting, we'd just like to say thank you to our corporate partners, the ASF, BMS, CAPS, Copart, EMAX, Integral, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Merca, Nationwide Vehicle Recovery Assistance, S&G Response, and Sherwin-Williams, as well as our partners, Aztec, Innovation Group, Indasa, the Green Part Specialists, and our latest partner, Casco. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy this webinar.
Hello and welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. And as you'll see there, the session this morning is with Chris Weeks, Executive Director of the NBRA, and we'll hand over to Chris very shortly. But just to build on obviously the introduction there, huge thank you to our corporate partners and our partners who you can see on the screen there for supporting this ARC 360 Digital Event Week, looking ahead, where we're obviously discussing various aspects of the industry throughout this week. First session of the day today, and then we're later on looking at the supply chain. Before we get started, our usual disclaimer, which is on screen at the moment, and I'll also read. So the views and opinions expressed during the following webinar are those of the individual contributor and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the contributor's employer, organisation, committee, or other group or individual. Please respect all contributions, and we encourage you to join the conversation via the interactive functions available. So there we are, there we have it. So for people who have just joined us again, you've got the Q&A icons, so please fire away any questions that you've got for Chris there. We'll try and pick them up during the session. If not, we'll take them to Chris afterwards. Likewise with the chat, let us know you've joined us and you're there. If you agree, disagree, or anything else, then just let us know how the world is treating you. Thanks very much for joining us. And Mr. Weeks, without further ado, over to you.
Hello, Mark. How you doing? All right?
I'm all right, thank you, Chris. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad. Listen, thanks again for letting me come on ARC 360 and do this. I really do appreciate the opportunity to go on these things. And I was going to do a bit of a sort of a look back and a look forward, really, because it has been interesting. I was just sort of thinking back to 2019 the other night, and it was so different, wasn't it? You know, I was going out visiting repairers. Conferences was a real thing back then. You know, we used to sort of turn up and meet people in person. You remember drunken award nights? You know, that used to happen as well. Body shops were really busy, and going right back then, that was ARC 360 was just starting, wasn't it? You know, nobody. I mean, it was there. You know, it was a bit like Russia. It was there, but nobody went. You know, nobody really knew about it. But yeah, we were having meetings with insurers, accident management companies. The pubs were open. It was all very, very different, wasn't it? And then 2020 started out, and I remember getting a call from Bill Duffy at Rice Street, and because obviously there was a bit of a problem in China, wasn't there? The corona had just started to break out there, and he said, "Hey, Chris, I've started here. A mate of mine works for JCB. And he's starting to get difficulty getting parts from China." And I thought, oh yeah, you know, this could happen. And straight away we started messaging the insurers, accident management companies, trying to say, look, we could have a problem coming at us. We could have parts disruption. And I was also remember saying, if the virus does start to take hold over here, let's work together. You know, let's really work together and get this together. As an association, we had plans. You know, we wanted to get a new database in. We had plans to take on big challenges around courtesy cars this year and inflationary increases that weren't really coming through to body shops. And we had our sort of full agenda, but of course, we all know everything started to change. I looked back at my notes yesterday, and in early March, last year, I remember writing out and saying, you know, the UK has got 320 confirmed cases of COVID now, and it was starting to grow. And looking back now, that seems ridiculous when, you know, we're actually at 1.54 million confirmed cases in the UK and 55,000 deaths that we've had. You know, and that's just in March. That whole process that we've been through as a country and as an industry. And but right then, you know, we started getting our messaging out there. You know, what's likely to happen, what to do for body shops, safety advice. And right then in March, we started indicating to insurers and accident management companies, you know, body shops are going to need support. We already knew from looking at Brexit scenarios that there wasn't a lot of cash out there in body shop world, and we knew we'd need it. I look back at notes on 16th of March this year. And this shows how good our analysis is at NBRA. We were forecasting a potential 20% reduction in claims frequency then. So we got that bang on, as you know. It got a lot worse than that. But straight away, you know, quite early on, we got insurers starting to step forward to support. I remember Enterprise and their credit repair staff, they were starting to give out COVID support. Sabre were quite early on, Cavea. You know, insurers starting to sort of step forward and give some concessions. And work was really starting to drop off. 23rd of March, I remember it really clearly because it was my son's 21st birthday. That was kind of when it all kind of went boom back then. Government put us into lockdown and we were kind of in turmoil, if you remember. Work started to sort of disappear very quickly. I look back at notes and 74% of body shops at the time were sort of temporarily closed or reduced to a skeleton staff. And that was all just so new for us, wasn't it? Insurers went quite inwards. There was a lot of contingency planning going on. Every business was struggling to deal with it. We had staff concerns. Everyone was coughing at the time. There was a lot of people coughing. Dealers were forced to shut. They couldn't sell cars, of course, and in the process of doing that, they shut their aftermarket places down. So parts were getting very difficult. And even then, you know, at that early point, we were starting to message that if the work does half, you know, if the frequency reduces, we're almost certainly going to have to double rates just to keep going. We were doing a lot of lobbying at the NBRA with the government for business support. Early on, we lobbied for the body shops to be classed as an essential service, you know, to carry on and support key workers, because there was a lot of confusion about that at the time, and that was really important. We provided letters for body shop staff to travel around, because people felt guilty even getting in the car back then, if you remember, just to get around. And then on the 7th of April, the government brought out the coronavirus job retention scheme, which we all know now as furlough, but at the time we were like, what's this? You know, we were like, what the hell is it? So we quickly got, you know, legal support on it. We got Mills on it and other support to try and turn that into something that was sensible. And then we built the Corona calculator. I don't know if you remember that. Let me share your screen, see if I can bore you a little bit more for a second. Share that. There we go. Can everyone see that? Is that starting to work? Let's have a look. Slideshow. There you go. Yeah. So I don't know if you remember this. This was something we put together really early, just to absolutely demonstrate that if the amount of work that goes down in the body shop, the rates are going to have to go up, even with furloughed staff, in order to continue to break even. You know, in this calculator we calculated at the time, body shops would need £48 an hour at 30% trading, just to break even. You know, and that was even with furloughed staff. So it was helpful and simple, but you know, we needed to get that out there. We started challenging audit companies, the likes of BSI, etc., that were still coming around doing their audits as usual, but yeah, people just didn't need that. So I know it's a bit of a history lesson, but I just think it's so worth going through sort of where we went. And then by the 16th of April, we started putting together charge-out guides for the industry, and collating communication and, you know, what concessions that different insurers, different accident management companies were making. Because, you know, at the time, everybody was learning and new stuff was coming out. And I remember, you know, going on these ARC 360s, Mark, and saying, you know, we need more money for the industry. We cannot, we can't survive on the kind of rates that we've got at the moment. I remember saying very clearly that, you know, normal contracts in peacetime, fine, but right now with so little work, wholly insufficient. Now, you know, that kind of hit home in places. So we also started to get members saying, look, we can't afford to give you any money anymore, which was a bit of a new one for us. So, you know, during the course of this, I think in total, we've given 55 members a complete subs break. Yeah, most of them have come back and started paying again, but some still haven't. You know, but so what? It just didn't matter to us as an association. You know, we that's what we're here for, and the fact that you couldn't pay us through Corona just didn't matter. You know, it was tough, but so what? And that was a great thing. Also, like assessment costs, we understood that. Here we go. Really great at doing this, aren't I? Look how slick it is, Mark. After all this time, can you see?
The practice has paid off.
Just amazing, isn't it, how slick we are. You know, assessments. We were highlighting things like this as well. You know, as the work volumes go down at 25% of volumes, you're still paying the same overheads. Assessment costs were going up as well. And the same sort of thing with courtesy cars. You know, based on low volumes, something that was a £10 a day courtesy car, because your lease costs were the same, we're starting to jump up to circa £35. By this time, I think I'd have more appearances on ARC 360 than like Gordon Ramsay on Jonathan Ross. I was just there all the time, but it was so good to do, and so it went on, helping body shops with rates relief for grants, cash advances, the C bills, the government interruption loans, bank loans. You know, through that thing, I think I counted up yesterday, we did 42 member updates and advice. And we also wrote to Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, so who hadn't been in it long himself, because the French had brought in the flexible furlough scheme, something we've got now, of course. But we made a case to Rishi Sunak, and that eventually came to be. We also lobbied the government on various other things. We wrote to Nicola Sturgeon about the rates relief up in Scotland, and they pretty much told us to stuff off. That was their response. They're not going to change anything, which is a bit sad. But yeah, you know, and eventually, you know, we although we're still fighting COVID now, it's far from gone. It was by far our biggest challenge as an association that we've ever had. You know, certainly the biggest challenge I've had since I've been here. And hopefully with a vaccine, you know, round the corner, the future could be a bit brighter. I don't know if have you had a holiday, Mark?
What's one of those, Chris?
Yeah,
No.
I don't think anybody has. I mean, even if you could get on a plane, we haven't had them. So that was just a bit of looking back, you know, and I know we're not totally through it yet, but I just wanted to sort of go through that again and see where we've been and see the journey that we've been on. So what else? So there's so many other challenges still that we're involved in. You know, parts is still a big issue out there. The loss of discounts that repairers are struggling with is something that's very much on our minds. We did a little bit of analysis recently, just 10 repairers, 2019 versus 2020. And this is just on Ford, not on the other manufacturers. But between those two times, body shops lost 3.3% of their margin in that space. Now, that doesn't sound a lot, but in terms of the actual margin they make on parts, that's like a 12 reduction in parts profit. Just across those small number of repairers, they lost £125,000 of profit off the bottom line. And that's just one small group of repairers, and there's others come along too. So it's really high on our agenda to make sure that everyone is aware that those margins are starting to disappear, and we need to do something about it. ADAS, you probably know, is also a bit of a problem. There's a war out there at the moment, from what I can gather, over charges. So many charges are getting knocked off, and so many arguments about it. And quite frankly, there's a lot of misunderstanding. Repairers have been forced to move along that technology journey and learn very, very quickly. And in some instances, I have to say that some of the engineering areas haven't had that training and haven't had that same education. That's not a blanket, obviously. I don't want to be disrespectful to any of them, but so we're watch out for December, because we're going to do, as if December wasn't exciting enough already, we're going to do the 12 days of ADAS. It's going to be extremely exciting. So every day, we're going to be releasing information about ADAS, about different options available, the different types of costs out there, things that you can do to support you in your arguments with ADAS, to help you make more money out of it, different sort of structures that are out there. So that's going to be really good, and something that you can all really look forward to in December. Another question out there at the moment is engineering. We get quite a few calls in at the NBRA here. It seems that engineering department's got quite a bit of time on their hands at the moment. So we've gone into this sort of second lockdown. Claims frequency is definitely dropping off again, or it has dropped off again. And that's affording people more time to look at things, which, yes, it probably will save more money in the long run for certain underwriters, but it's definitely damaging relationships. There's no doubt about it. If there's any insurers listening today, please give this some thought, because there's been some great advances made in recent years with auto authorization, with much more streamlined processing, and a lot of trust has been built up between underwriters, accident management companies, repairers, and that trust and privilege is something that repairers really care for now. And to go backwards, and for silly little things to start getting challenged now, for £10 COVID charges to get knocked off for 2 units, there is a bit of a head of steam building up in the repair community that's saying, for God's sake, please stop doing this. And whenever I talk to senior people, they get it. I think that some reason there's some kind of disconnect between claims directors and the people that are sort of on the phones to repairers at times.
Hi everyone, we hope you're enjoying this webinar. Just a quick thank you once again to all of our corporate partners and partners on screen now. Now back to the show.
There is a few, in terms of other sort of issues, there's a few shocking contracts out there coming out as well. It's an unsettling time for repairers. They've just got through this challenging time, only to be hit by lockdown 2 or 2.0 as we've called it. And there's quite a few repairers that will be very, very short on work next week, without doubt. Not everybody, but some. And to push contracts out at this time at the moment, which are really not great, but without a doubt, body shops are signing up to, is not something that we want to be doing at the moment, because repairers are a little bit desperate. Something that we've put together to help that is at the conference going back over a year ago now, we put something up on the screen that had been put together by Steve Field, and we kind of reworked it to make it super simple. We're going to be getting this out shortly to members, but it's a super simple tool. Just plug in a few numbers based on different kind of contracts. What hours agreed, hours into the workshop, the labour agreed, paint. And very simply, based on whatever insurer it is, you'll be able to see the margins that you're making on an individual repair. Because so often that isn't done. Jobs go through the workshop and everybody assumes they're going to make some gross profit on every job. It's not always the case. So we like to sort of really strongly recommend that people start to use something like this to make sure they're making money on every job. So they've got to do that. We're going to do something bit bigger than that as well. So something that we're building at the moment is a contract comparator. So we want this at contract level across all the contracts that are out there. And I've asked Audatex for like a basket of jobs that we'll be able to put into the model. So it's a consistent basket of jobs with a certain amount of different menu items. And we'll be able to run that through all of the different contracts and see, the relative merits of each of them, which will be a great resource, I hope, for our members to understand, what's good, what's not so good. If you do start to get busy, what you want to do more of, and what you want to do less of. So that's come along. What else we've got going on? Oh, before we go on to that, in terms of issues as well, another emerging issue that I just want to mention briefly, I'm not going to go into any detail, is this massive increase of catalytic converter thefts. If you're a body shop, you've probably experienced this. It's, in certain localized areas, it's much more prevalent than others because of the cost of precious metals and because a lot of catalytic converters on 4x4s are easy to get under now, and people are cutting them off with electric power saws. These are a nightmare for body shops. I had so many calls, we're doing loads and loads of them. We're losing money on every single one of them. So this is, I've not tried to message this out to insurers. I'm sure lots of repairers have done it individually. But this is another thing that needs some address, needs some focus, because it's just not good enough the way it's working at the moment. Despite all this, we're still growing as an association. That's a little picture of Michael Wicks, our business development manager. For those that know him, the super guy, one of the hardest working, most, supportive and enthusiastic members of our team, doing an absolutely brilliant job. And he's working so hard to get extra members. And aside from all that, he still somehow has the time to sort of do amazing work for cancer charities. You'd have seen the sort of messages that went out on ABP the other day. But tremendous. But, we are still growing somehow. We must be doing something right. We've got a target of 850 members by the end of 2021. We'd love to do that. 2022, I'd love to see 1,000 members, break that barrier and really start to unite the industry. I'm sure you can help us do that. We've also done a bit of a restructure. I told you we've been doing stuff, Mark. We've also done a bit of a restructure. At the top there, you can see our NBRA exec. Some big names that you'll recognise there: Steve Field, Dave Sarge, Roger Collins, Steve Shaw, Richard Thorogood, Dev Kavanagh. I couldn't ask for a better NBRA exec team. Massively enthusiastic. Every single one of those people is there because they care about the industry. None of them are doing it for themselves, and they're incredibly supportive. They're always helping me, helping the team. And if you ever sort of bump into these guys at the next do, buy them a drink, because they're constantly working hard for you. We've done a bit of a restructure. So earlier on in the year, I brought in Tom Hudd. Tom's off this week. He's had a bereavement in his family, sadly due to COVID. But he's doing a tremendous bit of work with that team. And his sole job is to build new products and services for our members. I'll go on to a little bit more about it in a minute. But, that's what he's focused on. That's his job, and that's where he's pushing for next year. Michael, as I've said, has got a team, and, they're very much focused on growth and retention of our members, but making sure that they're engaged as well. Anthony Barnes is a member of our team. I don't know if you've ever sort of spoken to him, but he did a tremendous job this year as well, bringing in a brand new database for us, a CRM system that was so good. It's been adopted all the way across the RMI and all the other associations, NFDA, IGA, etc. That's really going to help us give you a better service going forward, and it's going to help us build data and to really understand our members better. We recognise that we can't be out and about in cars burning rubber all the time because we've got too many members now, and we haven't got enough people to do it. So thanks to the likes of ARC 360 and the necessity and stuff, we're all starting to get the hang of this sort of webinar thing, and very much that's how we're going to be engaging with members this year. So Anthony's going to be booking appointments, talking to members, once every other month, going through activity update, new opportunities that we've got for you, new products, technical updates, but also listening to you as members, what you've got and what problems that you've got, so we can feed it up and we can start sort of taking action on. And for those out there that aren't tech savvy, there are a few people that just refuse to pick up the mobile phone. No problem. We'll be having regional events, and Ant will be booking you into those. And they're not going to be presentations. It's just going to be chat. We're going to talk and have open conversations. So really excited about that as well. I think it's probably worth mentioning a bit about our supplier members. So, that's just an indication on the left of some of the areas that are covered. We've got a growing sort of list of supplier members. What's it for? There's two criteria really to be an NBRA supplier member. One is you've got to have a good reputation in the industry, and you've got to look after our members. The only other thing is, we look for a unique offering for NBRA members that you can't get just by going direct. They're there to give you something that you couldn't get ordinarily, and so they've been doing a brilliant job for us as well. And there's still quite a few spaces. There's areas or sectors of the industry that we still want fulfilled with supplier members. Anything to do with the green ecological side of things, we're keen to hear from you. We're looking for solutions that will help our members with customers that can't pay their excesses. A supplier solution for that. Also, software development is something we get asked for quite a bit. People want to develop some of their own software stuff. So, if you're in one of those sort of spaces, do contact Michael Wicks, and we'll be up for a chat. How am I doing for time, Mark? Is anyone still awake?
You've got about 60 seconds. Get off.
It's not that bad, is it? So as I mentioned, Tom has got this digital vision. I'll go really quickly. So, I want, and he wants, every single role in a body shop, be it technician, front office staff, workshop controller, manager, to have products and service from NBRA that they use, access in a digital format every single day. It makes their life better. So you're going to hear more and more of that as we go along. In terms of the insurers and accident management company, I write personally to them every sort of couple of months, and the point of doing that is, in the last one that went out, went to approximately 60 senior figures in insurance and accident management companies, and the point of that is really just to convey the messages that I hear on the street. So they don't always get the same kind of story through their advisory boards, because you've got very pro people. But things like the catalytic converters and parts and everything else, I think it's my job, or it's our job as an association, to make sure that everybody is aware of the things that affect in body shops day to day, and the things that concern them. So that's happening, and that will continue to go out. We also, a bit like the ABP, we kind of stole an ABP idea, but for the VBRA and the commercial, we've got approximately 100 commercial members. We put together a charge out guide for them because they were sort of struggling a little bit with putting their argument forward. So that's got put together. If anyone wants a copy of that, do let us know. We had the hugely successful Greener Body Shop Awards in 2019. Unfortunately, we couldn't do that this year. But Dominique, who works on the team, she's so excited about this. I think we're going to do something really, really exciting for 2021. So hold your horses, get ready for that. Oh God, what else we got? Committees. As an association, we've got our technical team, as you know. We sit on the SBS 20, the BSI, the ADAS, Insurance Industry Regulations. We make representation on the VRA, so the piece looking at recycled parts. We basically haven't got our own opinion. We talk to our members, and we represent. We're representing body shops on all these sort of things. The Joint Apprentice Trailblazer Group, Auto Raise, etc., etc. Still got a keen eye on Brexit. We had a webinar. We hosted a webinar 2 weeks ago with a wide cross section of the industry, making sure that we had a political talker on there to sort of talk about the way it's likely to go from his view. Now, this is a guy that sort of hangs around in Westminster. His view is that it's very likely that we will do a deal. Don't quote me on it. But of course, if we do a deal, which is similar to the Canadian one, it won't be tariffs. There won't be, issues at the border. We can trade without taxes. If there is a no deal, from what we understand, there's likely to be 4.5% put on in terms of tax for imported parts. So, that will probably filter its way through to sort of the likes of Outertex, and the costings there hopefully shouldn't be too bad. As if that wasn't enough, we're supporting Tesco with their RFI. We're still doing stuff on aged debt. We've got a new website that's going to be launched this year. We got, in summary, we've just had the most incredible 2020 to work through. It's been unbelievably tough, but just just been an incredible pleasure to represent body shops throughout it, and lots to do in 2021 as well. Have I overrun?
By a few minutes, but that's not bad for you. But
sorry about that.
That's okay. We'll allow it. Thank you very much indeed, Chris. So, a whole host of information there from Chris in terms of obviously a little bit of backtrack in terms of where the industry's been, how we sort of worked our way, and specifically the NBRA worked its way obviously through the pandemic, lockdown 1, how things have moved on, development of relationships there, lockdown 2, the implications, and then obviously looking a little bit further ahead in terms of what's likely to impact us on us moving forward. Loads more discussion to come from ARC 360 this week. Supply chain session this afternoon. And then we have 2 other sessions on Friday. One, an interview with a claims director and insurer. And then in the afternoon, a talk about the future of repair. So very quickly, before we sign off this morning, a big thank you to our corporate partners and our partners who you can see there on the screen: BASF, BMS, CAPS, Copart, Emax, Integral, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Mercer, Nationwide Vehicle Recovery Assistance, S&G Response, and Sherwin-Williams, as well as our partners, Aztec, the Green Part Specialists, Indasa, Prasco, and the Innovation Group. Any queries, any questions, anyone's got any points to make, please drop them in the chat right now before you leave. We'll scoop all of those up. Anything else you want to ask Chris, again, drop anything in there. We'll go to direct any queries and questions to Chris. Loads of pertinent points made, and I'm sure there's lots of people sat there nodding their heads going, oh yeah, I need to talk to you about that. So get in contact with Chris or myself and I'll forward these things on. Leave us a message as you leave. Thank you very much for joining us. Take care, everyone, and hopefully we'll see you later.
Take care, buddy.
Cheers,
see you soon.
Take care, all.